Hi, I'm Wes.
And I got something to say to you people. So, for this trash talk, and trust me, today there's going to be some actual trash talking on the show.
Who would have thought?
This is something very dear to me that I just cannot take anymore. I've been seeing it everywhere on here on YouTube, and I'm probably going to get them here too on this video in the comments. So let's just, okay, let me see. The Crash Bandicoot Spyro the Dragon Rant, which, let me see how I can progress with this. These two franchises I grew up with. Crash just a bit more than Spyro, but they were both one of the two main things I grew up with. Maybe I should go just a little bit more back than that. So, when I was about 2 or 3 years old, I started getting the hang of playing with my mom's big ol' ass PlayStation 1, the friggin' big old gray ones, like the first model. And those were the games I used to play. And now, two different companies that were kind of related, they're like brother companies or sibling companies, whatever. Insomniac and Naughty Dog. Okay, so they did Spyro and Crash respectively. So Insomniac had Spyro and yeah. Now, lots of people say those are really good. Those first couple games in their own franchises are really good, and I totally agree. Because, like I said, I grew up with them. They were just so awesome. And then, these two things are like very, very similar. So their companies dropped those franchises and they got picked up by pretty much the same company, really. Because I think after Naughty Dog dropped Crash and Insomniac dropped Spyro, they got picked up by Vicarious Visions, I think. They got picked up by multiple companies after a while, developers, I mean. So they went through some changes. Both those series went through some changes. And basically here, and I loved like every game that came out. Now I didn't play all of the games in the Spyro franchise, but I own and have played pretty much all of the ones in the Crash franchise, except for the mobile games. I have like 1 or 2 of the mobile games, but I have like every other single home console and handheld besides the mobile ones for Crash. Now, the last company to pick up these two franchises was Radical Entertainment, okay? There was also, like, I think Sierra was a developer. It was Activision, Sierra, and Radical. They're all pretty much, like, related in a sense, I think. Now, for Crash, they took the franchise in a different direction, but honestly, Crash has been changing since Crash to Insanity. So, that's kind of where it started to take a different turn. Spyro also took a turn, and people don't like the Crash change, but everyone's going gaga over Skylanders, so I don't know what's going on. So, if you couldn't have guessed or whatever from the title below, this is going to be a two-parter. So right now, I'm going to focus my attention on the Crash perspective. So, like I said, I was very, very little when the series started. I was born before the series began, actually. I was born mid to late 95, and in September was when the first Crash Bandicoot came out. So about a good year or two later, I was, like I said, around 2 or 3, was when I started playing the first Crash. And that was like my very first game ever, and I loved it to death. And I would just follow the games afterwards. And like I said, Naughty Dog dropped Crash, Vicarious Visions or someone picked them up, and started doing their things with him, and it was still Crash. Everyone still loved them. They were still really cool. And then Traveler's Tales came in, and I think one other developer or company or something came in.
Yeah.
And after Wrath of Cortex, which was the last one by Vicarious Visions, I think, well, for the home consoles anyway, I don't know if there were any other handhelds they did before or after Wrath of Cortex, but Crash Twinsanity came out. That game is fucking amazing, just putting that out there. That is like, my top 3 Crash games would probably be Twinsanity, the first one, and I don't even know, Warped, I guess the third game or something, I'm not too sure. I don't even know but the top 2 would be those 2, Twinsanity and the original Crash. But, I mean, because I swear to God, Twinsanity is so good. The music, dear God, the music. The graphics are okay, because everyone knows that Twinsanity is like the glitchiest game. You can like search up a whole bunch of like glitches and shit on the Crash Twinsanity game. Well, but anyway, so that's where the series started to change, like a lot. So because it went from being its classic stuff from like, you know, you choose your 5 warp pads and you do. You go through your levels and everything, and then you unlock the boss, beat the boss. That was Crash's thing from the second game to Wrath of Cortex. So for every like adventure game, platformer Crash, that was pretty much the structure, you know.
Yeah.
And with Twinsanity, it changed. It became Twinsanity was the first Crash Bandicoot open world game where you just kind of go through. You don't choose levels; you just go through the levels, you know, as you progress. I mean, they were still categorized. The little sections you went through were categorized into levels, and each little section had their own gems you had to collect and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. But the formula was starting to change there, and a lot of people liked it. I haven't really heard that much bashing or flack. I like that word, flack, thrown at the game. But
what does flack mean anyway?
Something like, I don't know, like. If you throw flack at the game, it's like you're throwing bad shit, you know, insults and everything.
Okay.
I guess.
Alright.
I don't know where I heard that, but I like that word. Not a lot of bad stuff about Twinsanity. The next game, Crash Tag Team Racing, which now, of course, was a racing spin-off, but it was the next game after Twinsanity. Lots of people didn't really like it. I liked it. I thought it was cool, but I did start to see even more of a change because Traveler's Tales did Twinsanity, then the series got picked up again by another company, by another developer, and that was Radical. That was Sierra Entertainment. They released Crash Tag Team Racing, and that is when people kind of started to wince and cringe at what they were seeing and playing. And the reasons why are because, for one, and not so much to do with the characters' like appearance, which comes later, trust me, but their personalities were being changed a little bit more. So they were modernizing, really. Yeah. They were modernizing the series. Lots of pop culture references, which lots of people don't really like when it's been done to a series or something or other. It could be done with books, movies, whatever that they really grew up with, that they love. Pop culture references, personality changes. So like all of a sudden. Like, okay, for example, really great example. I thought it was funny. One of the villains' engine was, when he started out in Crash 2, he was very maniacal and kind of like, I mean, he was always kind of crazy in a sense. I mean, never really like, he wasn't sane so much, but he was like the Igor of the series, because he was like Cortex's right-hand man for a majority of the series. So he went from this malicious figure, kind of like, you know, whatever, to this borderline just insane person. Like, he was so, I don't even know how to, like, he had ADD, it was an insomniac, like, everything just wrapped up into one. He was just utterly nuts. Like, one of the missions in Crash Tag Team Racing is to go find him a ballerina outfit because he wants to be pretty. I'm not kidding. He's so fucking nuts. I mean, I like it. He's voiced by Nolan North. Nolan North did, who did he do the voice of?
He did, Nolan North. He did the voice of Desmond in Assassin's Creed. That's what he's most famous for.
He did someone else too.
And then he recently...
Was it Drake? It was Drake in Uncharted?
Yeah, he was also Drake in Uncharted, and he recently has played as Deadpool in Deadpool.
He was Deadpool. So,
excellent voice actor, by the way.
Yeah.
Really
the
good.
way he made engine sound, he's funny. I mean, he's really funny. He made engine pretty funny. But he's a lot more comedic relief now than being the malicious figure that was Cortex's right-hand man. Lots of people didn't like it. Some people did. Some people thought he was really funny. I thought it was funny. I don't have too much of a problem with it. And then, like, lots of people didn't like the Crash Bandicoot change. Because when Crunch first started out in Wrath of Cortex, he was this big, badass guy voiced by Kevin Michael Richardson, who is another great voice actor.
Yeah.
Did a whole bunch of things. But I thought he was a really good choice for Crunch when he started out. He was really cool. He was also kind of like that badass, like tough guy, didn't take no shit. Then, when Tag Team Racing came, Chris Williams voiced the character, and for whatever reason, they thought it'd be funny to make Crunch a Mr. T parody. I don't know why. He directly quotes B.A. Barracus, whatever his name is, from the A-Team, which was Mr. T's character. And he was pretty much just a Mr. T parody. I mean, I don't know why they decided to do it. I'm not too fine with it because he had a personality. I mean, Crunch as a character had a really good character, background, personality when he started out. And then in this game, he kind of became a Mr. T parody. And it was always odd, to say the least. Lots of people were just hating on it. And other people were like, okay, I can handle this. And then other people were just like, oh, well, that's fucking hilarious,
Yeah.
I'm in the in-between. I'm like, well, it's not that funny, but he has some funny lines here and there. So basically that's just how it was going. Lots of people didn't really like it. Other people thought it was like the greatest thing ever. Now, that's just kind of now what I'm describing here was more of like how it started to form, how this hate for Crash in modern times in these newer games started to form. The main thing I want to talk about is everyone's reactions to Crash of the Titans and Crash Mind Over Mutant, the last two games of the series to have been released so far. Crash of the Titans in 2007 and Mind Over Mutant 1 year later. So, I'm going to sit up here. So, it was still done by Radical and Sierra and Activision. And they were taking it way further with like this modernizing. Now, Titans is it's kind of a mixture of both of the structures of Crash to Insanity and the older Crash games to choose your levels, but that's only until after you complete them. So when you start a new game and it'll start you off and you're there in like the Wumpa Jungle, the original the main first level,
Yeah.
You complete the level, and then you come to a menu and you got your little things. You can check out concept art, do all that stuff, and then you just keep going with your adventure. So it flows nicely, but I forgot where I was going with that. But okay, well basically that was just kind of how it was.
And I actually did play Crash the Titans on Nintendo DS, and I thought it was really good. I know, like how, like there's this
Did you guys have Crash the Titans for DS?
Yeah.
I want to play it. Because I never played
Well,
the version.
I thought it was really good, but like pretty much the gameplay was really good, and levels were mostly easy. I would come up to like a bad spot here and there, but otherwise that was it.
So you're kind of in that in between too. You're like, well, it's not bad, but I mean, it's okay.
Yeah.
I really like Crash of the Titans. I mean, I thought it was really cool. Now, okay, what I was saying earlier, I'm going to kind of leave that as it was. Now, and go on to another topic. How I said earlier, people didn't like the appearances. Well, the appearances didn't change too much in Tag Team Racing. For Titans / Mind Over Mutant, they changed drastically. And people did not like that. So, like, Crash didn't change too much, but people were starting to ask what the fuck is up with the tattoos on his arms, on his hands and everything. Because he finally, they got rid of his gloves, you know, and he's got weird ass tattoos. I mean, I think they look badass. They look pretty cool. Now, just because I like it doesn't mean I cherish it. I mean, I've got my own things too about it. I'm not gonna just totally say, oh, your opinion's wrong, I love it, I'm right. Specifically, okay, they could have explained why he had the tattoos, you know? Maybe they just, because they're just there. I mean, they don't light up when you do anything, which could mean he got some kind of cool mystical powers within him or something. They didn't explain any of that. And how Aku Aku, the mask could suddenly just have this amazing ability to start controlling these horrific creatures, you know. None of that's really explained, and that was kind of a downer for me. I mean, I wish that if I could improve the game, that's what I would focus on. It's explaining those things. And they never really... Another thing is the new substance, the new collectibles you can get, which is called Mojo. Never explained. They're just there. That could have been explained. Maybe that could have tied into Crash's tattoos or something. But I don't have too many problems with the game. I mean, you know...
Yeah.
With the first one, it wasn't too modernized. I mean, they still had the weird, wacky personalities from Tag Team Racing, but they didn't really. They kind of started to change Crunch back to having his own personality instead of being a complete Mr. T parody. One person, though, one character that people didn't take too kindly to either for his change was Tiny Tiger. Tiny the Tiger. Okay, another comparison. So, in his debut was also in Crash 2. He's this big, hulking, mutant tiger who talks in third person, kind of has like a Hulk complex, like, you know, Tiny Smash, and he'll do whatever. His main goal is to just destroy Crash Bandicoot. That's pretty much how he words it. But that was cool, you know, that was a fun character to just have around, you know. So obviously when you play like Crash Bash, the party game, or Crash Team Racing, he's one of the bigger, stronger characters, you know. So I always love to play as Tiny in Crash Bash. But then he had quite a long absence from the series. Starting with Twinsanity, he only had a brief cameo in the beginning. That was pretty much it. He wasn't around at all in Tag Team Racing. But in Titans, he came back and he changed a lot. His appearance changed to more resemble an actual tiger. He became a parody also. He became a parody of Mike Tyson. But not so much Mike Tyson himself, more like, I think his name's Frederick Tatum or something like that.
Yeah, the Simpsons parody.
The Simpsons parody of Mr. T.
Mike Tyson.
Mike Tyson's, I'm sorry. See, I'm getting the... Mike Tyson. Mr. T, MT, so whatever. Of Mike Tyson. So he's a parody of a parody, which is odd. But, because I don't know if, should I do the impression? I can't do a good impression, but he used to go from Tiny Smash to, I don't resort to violence anymore, something like that, you know. I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to eat your face. That's kind of what he says, and Crash is like, no.
Bandicoots! I can squash bandicoots!
Crash, I really am cross with you. I'm just trying to do my job, and you go and cause all this chaos. I'm sorry, but I'm gonna have to eat your face.
But, yeah, his personality changed a whole bunch. His voice... Now, his voice doesn't match his appearance, and I think that's kind of funny, because even his name, Tiny the Tiger, and he's this big old hulking beast. So to have a voice like that is actually kind of funny. The one thing I really like about the game, or that part, he was only in there for a short part, but he does have a way bigger part than like in Twinsanity. I mean, it's just like a brief appearance. He doesn't even say or do anything. But in Titans, he goes, what does he say? He's mad at Crash, because obviously, okay, so they're villains, obviously, they're enemies. But he goes like, I'm not going to do the impression, but he goes like, you didn't even invite me in the last game. That really hurt, man. And like, it's funny because it's breaking the fourth wall because they know they're in a game, and he wasn't in Tag Team Racing, so that's kind of funny.
I wish some sort of reconciliation was possible here. And frankly, I'm still mad about the last game. You didn't even invite me. That really hurt.
There were things I enjoyed about it, like those kinds of changes, and then there were other things that were kind of like, why would they do it? Does it make too much sense? But okay. Engine still engine the way they made him. I think the one thing people don't like either is the drastic change of Aku Aku and the evil mask Uka Uka, because he changed a whole lot. Okay, so we're gonna have a little brief moment here.
Okay.
Uka Uka went from this to this, and Aku Aku went from this to this. So people didn't really like that, and I don't know. I mean, Aku Aku's isn't too drastic. I mean, he's still got his distinguishable features from like his past, look. Uka Uka changed a bunch, and from the voice, which is what, John DiMaggio, however you pronounce his last name. he does a good Uka Uka.
Wait, wouldn't that be John DiMaggio?
DiMaggio, yeah, whatever. Either, I don't know. But he's a good voice actor. They got lots of celebrity voice actors as the series went on. So like Debbie Derryberry, who does Jimmy Neutron, does Coco. Nolan North is Engine. John DiMaggio is when I say Uka Uka, I think. Who actually did voice Tiny in the other Crash games, but I don't have too much of a problem with most of the personality changes. I mean, like I said, Crunch I don't really get, but he kind of started getting his own personality again after a while. Tiny is alright, I don't have too much of a problem. I mean, he's only in the game for like a short period of time, so it's not that big. He's not even in Mind Over Mutant. Mind Over Mutant we're going to get to a little bit later, but I don't have too much of a problem. I don't see why people hate this. I mean, being a veteran, a long-time veteran, I've been playing this series all my life, like I said already, but I don't see the change, the reaction. Like, I don't get the reaction. Like, why is everyone bashing on this? I mean, I don't understand. I don't know how I can really... Now, what I'm trying to do here is just tell you like it is. Because I know there's a lot of people out there that's like, it's invalid, what you say is nothing, and I'm just always right. To you people out there that are like that, you really need to see it both ways. You have to see it for what it is and what it could be. You have to see it for how much good it is to the series and what has probably, as you say, ruined the series. I mean, I just would rather consider it what kind of just made it like branched off from what the series was originally intending, because the series always had its own look and feel. Now the look is kind of still consistent. Now the feel is, like I'm saying, how the structure was, how it was its own thing in the beginning, and then they kind of modernized it. To everyone who is kind of in between, I think I'm reaching out to you guys a little bit more. But I really hope that you don't go the way of people where people say, oh, I hate it so much, and start seeing it more like I am. Because I could be either way. I could be like, oh, well, even though I'm a long-time veteran, I fucking hate what they did. Or I could be like, oh, it's the greatest thing in the whole world, everyone else is wrong, it is so good, it was a really good change. I mean, I'm not like that. Like I said, it's got its good things and it's got its bad things. And I'm really trying to get people to see the good things, because lots of people are really seeing the bad. I have seen comments, any Crash video, look up anything about Crash Bandicoot, you will see in the comments, I hate Crash now, the Naughty Dog Crash is better, Crash is dead, there is no revival of him. Oh my god, so much, I'm going to say my favorite word, flack thrown at this game. At these two games, where the series is going, really, I mean, in general, I don't know why. I mean, I don't see... Okay, there's not that...
I might actually have something on this, because a lot of games have been getting this. Like, a lot of people don't really like the changes happening to them. Like, I'm just gonna say an example of a game series that I like, and we're gonna do an episode on this game series, Devil May Cry.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of people don't like the changes that happen to that game, and I could kind of agree on that because I have played all of them.
Yeah.
And I kind of agree with that. And I think the reason why is because they like really love these characters.
Yeah.
And they don't want them to change, so when they change them, they automatically just hate those characters because they don't match
What they used to be.
what they used to be, and what the people have enjoyed from those characters has now completely changed, and maybe that's why they hate that. I don't know.
And now see, from the DMC perspective, we're going to get into that a little bit later, but I'm just going to also bring this part, just this little bit up. From that perspective, now DMC is a reboot. And like I said, we're going to go through that for the DMC episode. Actually, it's going to come out after this rant, both parts. But DMC is a reboot. So, yeah, so I can see where you're coming from.
So, yeah. So, it's a reboot, so changes are going to be made.
But, okay. Now, that anger is a little more understandable. Because it was characters that they used to, that if they grew up with them, or however that works, they love them and everything. From the first 4 and however many spin-offs they might have had or whatever. And then with this one, they're going to be like, whoa, 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 why is he like this now? Why is she doing this? You know? Crash of the Titans and Mind Over Mutant is not a reboot. It's continuing where, like, the other... I read, I don't know if it's still like this, but story-wise, I think Titans takes place a year after Twinsanity, I read. I'm not sure if that's still true, because I heard that before Titans came out, so that could have been something they just were claiming like early in development, but you know what I'm saying? Yeah. It's not a reboot. And we're going to talk about reboots later, trust me. The Spyro thing, okay. Oh, I've been wanting to do this for a long time. I've been telling this story to all my friends, so you're probably just being like, when's he going to stop? My brother knows about this, my family knows about this, because this really angers me. I don't know why people are directing their anger towards this. Yes, there are changes, like we've been saying. Okay, not all of them were good, and even I admit that. Like I said, some of the personality changes were okay, some of, like what, you know, some of the physical changes were like, I don't get it, but whatever. Area-wise, that just kind of is with the game. Of course, they have to change all the time, so that's not that big a deal. The look and, well, the feel, like we were talking about, how it was structured one way, and then, and you gotta understand, it's a bit different with Crash. If Mario did this, Mario's always been by Nintendo. Of course, duh, right? So, say you're playing, and now, even that changed, because that changed drastically, maybe because Mario was in a different era at the time. Because Mario grew up as a 2D sprite, and that was kind of that when he was starting out. Now, obviously, you've got Mario Sunshine, Mario Galaxy, it's 3D, looking, you know. Of course, there's going to be different feels and different changes, and now, people have been accepting that. Now, some people don't like it, and some people don't. That's whatever. But Crash is a bit different because he's went through different developers and different companies, and they've all left their mark in the series and in the franchise. And so, some were good, and some were not so good. I don't want to say they're completely and utterly bad, but maybe we just don't understand them or whatever. But that's Titans. Now, Mind Over Mutant, the next game, which continues directly off of Titans, I've got a little bit more beef with. Again, they took the modernizing way up. The plot, maybe I should have said the plot in Titans. The plot in Titans is that Cortex is creating these mutants, and he's building a big old robot called the Dominator, which he's going to use to take over the world, you know, of course. But, Mind Over Mutant changes a little bit. Cortex meets up with Brio, who hasn't been in the series since fucking Crash Bash or whatever. Brio had like one of the longest absences in the franchise. I mean, like, other characters, Ripperoo, Entropy, they had their absence, but I think Brio's was like the longest. He was only in like Crash 1, 2, Crash Bash. He wasn't even in Crash Team Racing or whatever. So finally, and that was from the fans actually. The fans wanted to see Brio back, so they did it. And his change was a little bit alright. His physical change wasn't very drastic, and really you only see him in the 2D cutscenes because something I like about the game is that the cutscenes are done in different animation styles.
Oh yeah.
So that's pretty cool, and they're all 2D. They're never 3D. I mean, the game's in 3D, you know, but they're 2D cutscenes. And that's mostly where you see Brio. You don't really see like the actual 3D model of Brio in the game, but they released pictures of him and everything. He doesn't look too different. He looks now modernized in the sense of, okay, they upped his appearance and he looks more detailed. In that sense, okay, you know, that's cool. I actually thought his change was a little funny, his personality change. He was always kind of crazy and hyper and giggling in between sentences in the earlier Crash games. He doesn't really giggle that much now, but he is so self-righteous, and it's actually really fucking funny. Maurice LaMarche does his voice. I forgot what he was famous for. He did other video games and I think cartoons and stuff. But his performance as Brio was actually really fucking hilarious. He made the character became really self-righteous. He claimed he built and invented and created everything. And it is so funny. I mean, I think it's hilarious. The greatest part I'll never forget is there are two parts. One actually has to do with Cortex. The other one is from Brio. One of Cortex's funny bits in the game is where he goes, "I'm revamped, recommitted to evil," and then he grabs like a water balloon and just throws it in an enemy's face for no reason. I think it's the funniest thing. And then, like in that same cutscene, he's going over his diabolical plan and whatever, and then Brio's like, "You can do it, Cortex. I have the tiger." And he goes, "Foof," and swipes the screen and goes, "Hadouken!" And then immediately after he just goes, "Paper covers rock. The paper can't stop rocks. It makes no sense!" And I'm just like, what? I don't know. It's a great bit. I mean, now that change was really funny. I don't know how many people said it was stupid. Now those changes were kind of remain the same from Titans, personality-wise and everything. Now the story. What I was originally trying to get to. The story I have a little bit of with. I mean, I don't hate it, but I don't like it that much. I mean, I don't love it. It's alright. Again, with the whole modernizing thing. So the plot here is that Cortex is with Brio, and they meet up after so long, and they start developing these headsets called Envies. And what they can do is pretty much equivalent to all the phone ads you fucking see on TV nowadays. Yeah. Oh, it can do this. Oh, it's modern technology. It can do everything. And then in its own cartoony, wacky way, it's like you can, what is it? I don't know. You can like grind potatoes into French fries or something like that. You know, it's stupid stuff. But the whole point of it is kind of like a reflection on nowadays, you know, how technology is really starting to be big and come up. So of course, naturally, in the game, everyone wants one, everyone's got one, and that's, now their evil plan behind it obviously is, it's a mind control device. Yeah. It turns them into even more mutants and everything. And obviously, because he's a hero and he's genetically different, I mean, even more so than all the other mutants, but Crash isn't affected by it. Even Coco and Crunch are, but he's got to now go and save everyone and defeat Brio and Cortex. Now, in that sense, you know, that's okay. But the whole with the technology, I don't have too much of a problem with it. But I think they could have done something else,
like
different. I mean,
they didn't really use technology before.
They've never. I mean, obviously Cortex has had his wacky inventions and stuff, but I mean the emphasis they were putting on here is just because it's on how technology is now, because they put so much of a focus on it. And like, I don't know if I'm getting my point across or if you guys understand it the way I do, but that's kind of what they were going for, you know. And it could have been done differently. I mean, I don't think they should have done that, because they've never had a technology deal with everything else.
Well, like where like technology is, I mean, focus in the Crash story.
because it's always been with Cortex's inventions, but those are just his inventions. I mean, it's not anything to do with...
There's not a lot of emphasis on it. It's just like there, and then continue on in the story, not really thinking much.
Because like the major thing, because like it is texting, instant messaging, messaging, all this stuff. I mean, that's what we do now, you know.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's really a statement on anything, but I mean, just the way it's portrayed is kind of like a thing of how it's going on here, basically. Like I said, I mean, I don't hate it. I mean, but I think they modernized it too much. They could have done something different. Besides that, control-wise and everything, everything's pretty much the same as before. The Crash has got some different moves. That's kind of how it is. So what you're getting here is 2 reviews on 2 different games, plus my initial thought on this whole thing. And that was supposed to be the main focus of this video. My initial thing on this whole thing. I don't see why people are hating on this. I mean, it's not bad, guys. Give it a chance. Give Peace a chance, bro. I don't know. That was stupid. That was stupid. But you know what I'm saying. People who play these 2 games either instantly love it or instantly hate it. Or kind of in between. So I guess that's 3 options. I'm in the middle. Nowhere towards the no, I hate it. But it's not that great to be like, oh, I completely and utterly love it. I just don't see why people hate this. Even one of the, I forgot what his name was. It wasn't Andy Gavin, or was it?
Yeah.
I don't know if it was Andy Gavin or who it was, but one of the co-creators or someone of the original Crash from the Naughty Dog era said that ever since they let go of it, none of the games after their era, to him, were really that good. Even he didn't like the changes that were going through. Now, he said from the Naughty Dog era, which includes like Twin Sanity and all that. Now, though Twin Sanity, like I said, was freaking great and everything. We might even review that later on. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. But look at even him. I mean, I don't know what it is that. I mean, I don't know what happened. Do you have any opinions? Any thoughts?
Well,
besides what you
probably
said,
like on the change thing, but also because video games in general, if they go on, they're never as good. To my opinion, no game, no matter how like sequels, they're never really as good as the original. Because the original is what pulls you in. You fall in love with the original, and then others are like other sequels get really close. But to me, the original is always like most of the time the original is the better game.
Yeah.
Just because it brought you into that universe. And
it's what set up everything for the later games to come. And then with Crash's case, I don't know. Okay, let's see. Where was I going with this? Structure. So, like, the first Crash had this one structure because this was the first Crash. And they knew their flaws because it did have flaws. And it did have its little cons. They're not big, but they are kind of like nitpicks. I mean, I guess the only big issue would be to how you get the gems in that game. You have to collect every box, and you can't die. Because if you die, all the boxes reset. And now they were just experimenting with that, so of course in the later games, they changed it around, made it a little bit more nicer to the people. Like, you had a box counter, and the boxes wouldn't reset if you died. So that had its structure, and it's what set up everything. Actually, that game was a little bit dark, in a sense. I mean, like, you have... it started out as a Mario scenario, like... that rhymed. Crash had a girlfriend, and the girlfriend... They both started out in Cortex's castle, because it shows the creation of Crash. Also, it's the creation as in, like, the mutation, the brain control. Cortex is trying to control Crash. Crash was meant to be his head of genetic super animals, like his army. He had an army. And that's like mostly down to like his tiny Koala Kong, the villains, right? Crash was supposed to be the head of that army, but as fate would have it, the machine brainwashing him rejected him. And we don't know why, really, however that works, but it rejected him, and he didn't like what was going on, obviously, because he was being held against his will. He was brought up to be this thing that he wasn't going to have a normal life. Obviously, you know. I mean, I'm just kind of, I might be, you know, emphasizing it a little bit more than it was intended, but you know. He broke out of the castle, or more, he fell out, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
He had a girlfriend named Tana. She was still held captive, so his whole thing was to go and save her and everything. And then Cortex had like this big old power plant that was dumping waste into like the ocean and the island. It was plaguing everything, or however that works, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, if you really think about it, this game did have a kind of dark atmosphere. I mean, like, it wasn't too dark, obviously. I mean, it's still, its tone was still pretty, it was pretty kid friendly, of course, obviously. But like, to me, it felt. I mean, looking back now, I mean, that game was kind of dark. Then they toned it down, obviously. Crash 2 set the main structure for the rest of the for the rest of the Naughty Dog era. Well, and kind of the Vicarious Visions, whatever else era, with Wrath of Cortex, because Wrath of Cortex wasn't Naughty Dog's, but you know.
Yeah.
Wrath of Cortex was like, I think, the last one, because then the two handheld games also, The Huge Adventure and Entranced, also, well, not even Entranced, The Huge Adventure followed that same structure. Of the 5 little warps, and then there's the main warp in the middle or whatever, and then you've got your boss. Wrath of Cortex was the last to do that, and then the series changed. So, those are all the specific points of this. Generally now, I mean, we've been touching on general points here and there. Are there any other follow-up thoughts you have?
No.
Not really?
Continue.
I'm not too sure I have any other points, but basically, guys, you have to see it the way we do. And okay, no offense, but more me, because like I said, I grew up with this series. My first ever game was the first Crash game. Came out after I was born, right after I was born. And even though the other, like the second or third game came out by the time I started actually playing video games, I still played the first one. That was what we had. You really need to see it. These two games did not kill the franchise. These two games brought it in a different light that you can either see as okay, or maybe you really, really like the way they did it, or it's not your preference. Now, I'm gonna just kind of reveal it here. I filmed a guest host episode already, even though it comes after this, but we're filming this now before or after I did. But you're gonna hear more about preference and everything, and I'm pretty sure I go on about that even in that video. If it's not your preference, then leave it be. I'm just gonna straight out tell you guys. If it's not your preference, leave it at that. Just leave the games alone. Don't even play them anymore if you don't want to. That's on you. I'm not saying you guys are completely wrong or completely right, because obviously something's going on here. And that's why I'm addressing this. But if you like them, then go ahead and play them. I play them all the time. I'm actually in the process of beating Mind Over Mutant again on my Wii U, because that's got different saves and everything. But honestly, guys, please don't be bashing on this series anymore. It is not mature. It is not right. And even though, like I said, some of the other people in the Naughty Dog era who might not have liked the rest of the games, that's kind of on them, but they've left it at that. I mean, you don't see, like, on their blogs or whatever, them saying, we love our versions, everything else sucks. They're not like that. I mean, come on. They gave birth to what came after. So you know. I don't see why people are hating so much on this.
When there's so many other games that deserve more bashing than Crash.
Okay, hold on, before I kind of end this. I know where you're going. Actually, one last thing I want to talk about before we sign off for this. There was a petition for, now, after Mind Over Mutant came out, Radical was gonna do a reboot on the series. It was supposed to come out in 2010. Lots of people who know Crash know this already. It was called Crash Bandicoot 2010. Its actual name was revealed to be Crash Landed. Lots of info is being given out on this game. I so wish it could have been made, because there were lots of cool things. I saw the concept art. Now, there was going to be a new graphical look. There was going to be a new engine, I'm pretty sure, for this game. There was going to be a new... So there's a new look. It's more cel-shaded and a little bit more, even more cartoony with the disproportions and everything than kind of normal than what we've been seeing throughout all these years. The music was going to be done by Gabriel Mann, who was part of Spyro Mouth. Spyro Mouth did the Crash Twinsanity soundtrack, and oh my god, so amazing. But Gabriel Mann is a fucking genius. I mean, his music is really good. There was a petition a while back called Bring Back Bandicoot to either, and it was straight towards Activision. This was straight towards Activision. You could sign in either with your actual name and everyone will know who you are, or anonymously. You could, it was directed at Activision to either make a new Crash, but to make it good, or whatever. So it would have been like, I guess it would have continued the story after Mutant. Or make a reboot, or make some kind of game, because this year, actually this month, in September, I don't know when this will be up, but in September, this is Crash's 17th anniversary. So if you go on Crash Mania, the website for Crash, you'll see like some cool fan art and all that stuff. You can look up the series there. This petition there was a link to it on Crash Mania. It's not so anonymous now, but I did sign it anonymously. I was one of the people who put their signature on that petition, because we're due for a new Crash by now. I mean, like I said, Mutants came out 2008, and it's 2013, so almost the end of 2013 actually. But I would like to see a new game. I wish Crash Landed could have come out, because maybe if it had, so many people would stop their flack being thrown at this franchise. It would depend on how it would have went, like in terms of how it would look. Well, we know how it would have looked, but of how, the feel, mostly the feel. It would kind of depend on that, whether people would stop saying, "Oh, I hate the franchise now," or what, you know. But I really wish, and I hope, that when they make a new Crash game at some point, when they finally decide to make a new one, first off, I want to know whether or not Activision will still do it, or if they're gonna give them to someone else again. But I just hope that with whatever comes out next of Crash, you guys will give it a chance. You guys will not just automatically say this is gonna blow. It's never gonna just make us forget about Mutant and Titan, whatever. Please give it a chance. Whatever comes out of him, that's a game and whatever. Later on, give it a chance. Now, like I said, I don't understand why people bash and are angry at this when they should be angry at something else. And we will get to that next time. So that's pretty much the end of Trash Talk for right now. Part 1 of this rant. I'm Marcelo.
And I'm Wes.
This was Trash Talk. See you guys later. Also, PlayStation All-Stars, no Crash. What the fuck? Come on, guys.